In Hollywood Sports, it's the Bleeding Game. And now, your host,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Our scene fades in. The shot is an interior of Rick and Tori's apartment at night. Tori and Rick are sitting together watching TV. The camera cuts to Tori's phone as it lights up. Someone is calling. Closing in on Tori's face, she looks surprised and then worried. Closing in on Rick's face, he looks confused. Rick, who is it?
Oh my God, it's Sarah. What should I do?
Answer it.
Yeah, but what if she wants to hang out?
Just see what she says. Tori takes a deep breath, then hits the green button. Tori.
Hello?
The camera closes in on the phone. It's on speaker, but you can see that it's Sarah. She sounds like she's been out and has had quite a few drinks. The camera cuts to the interior backseat of an Uber. The night lights show us a slight bit of a gorgeous woman. It's Sarah on the other end of the call. Sarah. Girl, what are you doing?
That's perfect.
Hey, we're Rick and Tori. Welcome to our podcast.
We are a couple who have been together for 10 years, and these are stories about our extracurricular sextivities.
Our experiences are too good to not be told. They're too important to not be discussed. But mostly, they're too fun for you to not listen in.
So,
enjoy the show.
welcome back.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. We're back.
This is Extracurricular Sextivities. Well, you'll get all your doses of sex.
Guys, we're glad you're still here.
Thanks for coming back to listen to us, even though we're inconsistent and all over the place.
Yeah, we're trying to get our shit together. And the good news is we've been having a lot of sex.
Yeah, which means we have a lot of new episodes for you.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we're going into a different world now in a way, in that we've been with a few people who know about the show. It's changed the dynamic a little bit, hasn't it?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's different, but it's still good.
So serious, love.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to say about it. Maybe we'll cut this out.
No. Say it again in an excited way. We're having new threesomes because people want to fuck us now.
Yeah. They kind of wanted to fuck us before. Now they really want to fuck us.
Exactly.
They're like, they go, Rick, I just want to tell you, I really want to suck that dick.
That you keep talking about on the radio.
Like, dude, I would love to, but I'm not into dudes.
Oh, dear.
But maybe someday.
Oh, I like how you always leave that open for yourself.
Right.
I might be gay one day.
I've learned in my life that you just don't know what you're going to be into tomorrow.
Oh, perfect. So how about that intro?
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing?
Yeah, we got to back up from the time that Sarah called us.
She is a girl that Rick and I met a long time ago, towards the beginning of our relationship. And it was in the beginning of us even having threesomes.
Right.
And she is married, so she wasn't really up for having a threesome with Rick and I, but Rick and her husband kind of let us do our little thing. Mm-hmm. And so I got to play with her.
We're good guys like that.
Right. And so I got to play with her a bit in the past, but it was just that one time. And fast forward through all these years, we keep in touch over Instagram, and
she knows about the show.
Loves the show.
Gets her horny all the time.
And always commenting on stuff and reaching out, and we keep in touch. It's like I know this girl really well, but I've only met her one time and had a little sex fling with her, and then that's that. But I feel closer than that to her. And then so she reaches out, calls over Instagram. Right. It shouldn't have been as big of a surprise as it was, but it was one of those things where she reached out, said she was going to be in town like a week earlier. And that usually means that there's a 30% chance that you're actually going to see the person.
Right.
So Rick and I don't really bank on it.
Right.
We're just kind of like, we might see them, we might not. And I guess I wasn't expecting to actually hear from her. And the other thing is we kind of had tentatively planned to see each other on a Monday evening,
Right.
but this was Saturday night.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we're getting a prime night?
Which, well, yeah, and I'm kind of embarrassed that we didn't have anything going on that Saturday night. We should have totally been ready for this. Like, it should have been something like this. Hey, girl, what are you doing? It's like, well, we're here with one of our girlfriends, and we're having this fabulous threesome, and you can join.
Yeah.
Let's make it a foursome.
Instead, we're just sitting on the couch watching TV. You know what? Sometimes when you're 10 years in a relationship, you have lazy Saturday nights.
Right, yeah, so that's what we were doing.
Because those are the best.
But, yeah, so...
And so she calls, and I answer it, and the conversation's kind of all over the place because she's already been out drinking and having fun. And she's like, so what are we going to do? Like, let's do something. And I'm like, she's saying like, we have to go. We have to do this. But I'm thinking, I'm in my pajamas. Like, I don't want to do anything right now. I want to sit on this couch and keep watching my TV show.
Now, from my perspective, when you told me prior that she had reached out and said she was going to be in town, wanted to get together with us, and I knew the kind of rapport that you guys had over the years, since the podcast started, and how you guys' language is pretty hot and heavy. I thought, well, before she called that Saturday night, I was like, well, she wants to get with us. That's the whole reason she's saying, I'm coming into town. Let's all get together and have a drink.
Yeah,
drink. But that's me, right? I'm always angling to that side. But I felt like, so when she called, it wasn't that surprising to me.
No, and I will say that it wasn't like when she was like, what are you doing? And it's, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, oh, she wants to fuck. Like,
Right.
because like you're saying that the way that we talk to each other over Instagram, and maybe it's wrong of us to jump to those conclusions without, getting the go ahead. But that was the vibe. And that's why I was like, Tori, you got to get up off your fucking ass right now. Like, get up, get changed real quick. Go put deodorant on.
Meanwhile, while Tori's having this call and freaking out, she doesn't know what to do. I had already sprung into action, and I'm like running around trying to run and put my pants on at the same time. That thing you do where you're hopping and you're trying to get one leg in, and then you hop on the other leg to try to get the other. I'm like, let's go. Tori's still in, what do I do?
Yeah,
mode.
I'm like, should we really go? Should we really do this? Yes, we should.
We're going.
Yeah, Rick's like, we're going. I'm going without you. We're getting booty called right now. This is exciting. So yeah, we tell her, let's meet up. Turns out she's just 3 blocks from where we live. She's staying at a hotel downtown. And
that was the other thing that I got, was that when she called you and told you she was going to be in town, she knew she was going to be staying close to us.
And so I send her our address. She tells us what hotel she's staying at, and we just start walking towards each other.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of confusion about, well, now I'm on this street. Well, no, we're on this street.
Yeah,
and then we're this, but it was okay. We were making our way towards each other.
Yeah.
So.
And then,
yeah.
there she is.
There she was, looking pretty good.
I haven't seen her since the time I hooked up with her.
Right.
It was just kind of cool to see her, and then a big embrace, like, oh my God.
It's kind of like seeing a famous person.
Yeah. And she immediately is like, so where should we go? What should we do? She was partying, and it seemed like she wanted to continue to party.
Right.
But I'm thinking, I got to get on your level. Like, that was my first thought. As I was like, I have to have a few drinks in me. Like,
right.
Just to, tolerate a drunk person.
And then I think somehow our plan was, since we thought it was going to happen a couple of days later, our plan was to have our place fully stocked, that we could make cocktails and just hang out if we wanted to. But it was also getting late, not too late for us, but too late for establishments.
Right.
And so I was just like, hey, do you want to come over to our place and have a couple of drinks? And she's like, yeah, let's do that. But along the way, she would see a place. Well, let's go in there and have a drink. We're like, well, okay, but you don't want to drink. Yeah, I want to drink at you guys' place.
Right.
Like she kept. It's like focus.
Yeah. Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel.
Bar.
Yeah, bar.
Bar.
And my thought was, it's like, well, no, I kind of want intimacy, like not as in sex intimacy, but if we go to a crowded, loud bar, it would be like, huh? Well,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
and like she was definitely in the mode of like ready to talk to everybody
Yeah.
and start up conversations with people, and that would have been cool. But it was kind of like, well, this is our one shot, one opportunity.
Right.
Don't let it slip.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
But we then
We start walking back to the
Yeah,
to our apartment.
to our place, yeah. And we're just kind of questioning, so what's been going on? And, sorry, and Gio, where's he? Is he all cool with this? Are you here to be with us? Because if I remember right, you said, are you here to be with us?
Yeah, like, is he okay with you, like, being with, first of all, I mean, it's 11:30 at night and we're walking back to our apartment. Is your husband all right with this?
Yeah. And she just goes, well, that was something I've been wanting to tell you guys, is he is no longer. We are getting divorced. And we're like, well, Tori just went, ew, and I'm going, oh. Because she seemed just as fired up to see me as you. And so I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I tend to not ask too many questions.
And me, I'm like,
if I feel like it's going my way.
I'm like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. But no, she kind of said she was ready to.
He's no longer, I can do what I want.
Yeah, she was ready to let loose.
We're like, okay,
Yeah.
let's go do what you want.
Yeah, let's go have some drinks then.
We get back to the apartment, we go upstairs, and we're walking in. And it was fun because we walk in and she's kind of like, again, she's a little aloof because she's been drinking, not because that's her personality or anything, but it was just like, you could tell she was just like, she was feeling the night, you know? And she goes in and she starts walking. She goes, wait 1 minute. She's like, give me a second because I've got to look at all of this, and just starts like going up to almost all of our art pieces that are hanging up in our apartment and just analyzing everything. But what is that? Oh my God, look at that. That is so cool.
And
wow.
and
it talk about getting someone's attention.
Right.
She just like focused in on the whole
when
thing.
Tori and I were talking about this, I was remembering that, and this, I want to give this as kind of a piece of advice in a way. If you guys are trying to make yourself a little love den, it doesn't have to be that. This applies to anything. But somewhere I read, or maybe it was an accumulation of things, that when you are decorating your place, you should open your front door, stand outside and look in and see what it looks like. You want to establish a mood immediately. And our apartment does that.
It totally does that.
I shoot a lot of nudes, so when you first open the door, the first thing is you see a huge print of one of my nudes, and it's lit perfectly with spotlights. And it's red, and the place is moody.
You have a deep gray wall.
Yeah, deep gray wall.
So it sends this dark.
And then as you walk in, you see more photography on the walls in my office. And that's what happened. She walked in and she realized she just passed this thing that just kind of like, she was like, what did I just see? So she's like, back up. Let's tour this place from the beginning. And as you walk into our apartment, it just keeps giving you more and more and more of that.
It literally opens up.
Yeah.
And you get more and more.
And so when you're making your place, get your best art pieces that really talks about who you are, and get them right in the front so that when the door opens, people know that it draws them in.
I want to get to know this place and these people.
And that's what we've done. And
it works.
It works. It works a lot. People comment about it all the time.
Sure.
So a little piece of advice there.
Yeah. And I will say, too, that it always just feels really good when you do curate your home like that and you put that much thought and you want to try and show yourself off in that way. and then somebody comments on it or takes the time to appreciate it. And that's how I felt in this moment. I was like, well, this always feels good,
Yeah.
And so.
And, we don't have some palatial giant place.
No.
It's small and intimate, but yet.
It says, hey, this is Rick and Tori.
Yeah, it's like,
so we go in. I immediately go in and grab my gin while she's looking at all the art. I was like, okay, you got that. I'm going to go.
Tori's trying to catch up.
I am. Again, I just want to be on her level, at least closer to her level. And so I grab my gin. I pour myself a little shot glass because I've got that yummy, tasty gin that I can just sip it neat. Mm-hmm. And I have a few sips of that. You go into the kitchen and you're like, okay, I can make her 1 or 2 margaritas.
We had some limes. We had alcohol. We had
some basics.
Yeah, we had some good tequila and some triple sec. The ingredients for that. That's about all I could have made her unless she just wanted a glass of whiskey, which is what I started drinking.
Yeah.
But I made her just some really good margaritas.
Right.
And I only salt half of the rim. And so she takes it and she puts her mouth right on the salted half of the rim and starts drinking it. And then she's like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then finally she gets the courage to say, it's a little salty.
And Rick and I are looking at each other laughing because the other side of the cup is not salted.
Yeah, I go, turn it around to the other side. And she drank that. And she goes, oh, yeah, that's good. So...
we said, we had to get on her level.
Yeah, so we're like, we got some catching up to do. That was our sign for that. But we did, kind of. We caught up to her, and it was getting fun. We just started to talk to her and get to know her some more.
Yeah, we did. We were chatting with her.
Right.
What have you been up to?
Right.
And that's when she was like, do you want to hear how that night went for me whenever we hooked up? And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, because Tori talks about that night all the time, about those two getting to
play,
to explore with one another.
and now I was getting to hear it from her point of view, and I was like so excited, but without disclosing too many details, it wasn't as good of a night for her.
See, I disagree. I disagree with that. I think it was a good night for her, but she just didn't remember a lot of it.
Sure. And I don't think she liked that she didn't remember a lot of it.
But for good reason. I could be wrong. You could. I see where you're going with that. But I got the feeling from her that that's why she wasn't wanting to just tell you that. She also wanted to make up for lost time. Yeah, because this time it was going to be good. Because she would remember every detail.
Yeah.
But given the margarita consumption...
Maybe not.
Now you see. Now I feel like I'm going negative with it.
Yeah, I guess she didn't. She continued to talk to me from the moment that we stopped. We hooked up and then added each other on Instagram, and from that moment we chatted back and forth, liked each other's photos, and always had good rapport with each other. So I don't think it was anything negative where, she was blaming us or regretful or anything like that. It just wasn't the same experience that I experienced, which makes sense because we are 2 different people in this situation. But I thought it was for her. I thought we were both just in the same moment together, and I learned that we weren't. And I was like, wow, that is so interesting. I think about all the one night stands people have and what the other person, how they're off just living their life with a totally different experience. That's what it was for me. It opened my eyes. But then we're still very sexual towards each other and very intimate with each other and admiring each other. And so no bad blood. It was just she wanted to be able to tell me that's how she felt.
She didn't have quite the memory that you did.
Yeah. And then when she told me, she was like, okay, next thing, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, she got that off her chest, and it was all good to go then.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, though, my theory on her is that she's incredibly shy.
Yeah.
When she talks, you've read me some of you guys' posts to each other, and she definitely wanted you. You definitely want her because you tell me all the time. But if I don't know that she could say that to you in person without having had a few drinks in her.
Sure.
and she kind of still wasn't there. But
Yeah.
So it was a lot of innuendo.
Sure.
Like you got the feeling from her that she and Tori and I look. I can push hard, but
Yeah.
one of the things about being with Tori is that Tori does not like to push hard. She wants everybody to want this. And it's frustrating for me, but at the end of the day, Tori's right about that approach. I don't think I am.
I'm just thinking about how you bring up the push and the pull. And in this situation, I feel like neither one of us really knew what to do because Rick typically can push a little bit and I can pull back and we can do this little song and dance. But with her, it felt like when we were sitting there in the kitchen, she was doing a push and pull of her own.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah,
like,
right.
So
That's a good way to put
you
it.
bring up that shy stuff, and she was shy, but then all of a sudden this like bold, brave girl would come out, and she was like, yeah, so it was either gonna be y'all or my Uber driver that I was gonna be hooking up with tonight, and we were like, oh, okay, and then we're like playing with it.
Yeah,
and then she's like,
if Tori hadn't of like that whole thing with Tori getting the phone call.
if I didn't answer,
Yeah, if you didn't answer or said sorry, we can't go out. It was her. She was calling from the Uber.
yes,
And so she was already kind of making arrangements with her driver.
yeah. And so it was like she played that card, but then it was like, so then I'm like, oh, so I look at her and I like, touch her hair or something, and she goes, but y'all aren't actually really going to get me because like I'm on my period. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I back up, and then Rick's like, wait a minute.
What is this?
I'm calling her bluff here. And she's like, no, like I'm not ready for that. Like I'm still like in my own head about this and that. And we're like, oh, okay. So then I'm like, okay, Tori, back off. And Rick's, so that's where it's like, we're trying to do a push-pull thing, but she's doing a push-pull thing, and it was just kind of quite confusing.
Yeah, it was. We were laughing still and having a good time.
Great time with
but
her.
now it's getting late, and we're like, I kind of want to wrap this up now.
Yeah.
Was part of it that she was like, she didn't need to drink anymore? And
Yeah, but she kept asking for another drink, and
Yeah.
I was like, no, we don't need another drink. Like, we're good. And I was like, let's just take you back to your hotel room. Like, we don't need to do this, I'm glad that she reached out to us. And that was the other thing. It just felt cool to reconnect with her. And I thought, well, maybe we'll get to see her again. She's still here for the rest of the weekend, but maybe not
Right.
tonight. Let's get you back to your hotel. And so, yeah, she finally agreed. She was like, you're right. And she's putting her scarf on and her hat. It's the middle of summer, but it was like one of those designer scarves, So we go downstairs. And do you want to tell this part or do you?
So this is really funny what happens next. And sorry, it's not sexual in nature, but we'll get through this quick. So we go down to the bottom of our building. We get out of the elevator. We walk into our parking garage. And in our parking garage, it's a sea of BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, there's Audis, there's Range Rovers. So one of our neighbors just got a brand new like 300 ZX, and it's really nice, sitting like it's a jewel right at the front as soon as you walk into the
And so we're walking to our car.
Yeah.
And as we get closer and Rick like goes to unlock it,
Yeah, I go to bleep bleep.
it's a Ford Focus. And homegirl literally was like, oh, no. And I was like,
What?
And she's like, that's the car? Like, it's not the Jeep there. It's not this
And she
Audi?
knows that I have a Jeep. So when she saw this fresh new Jeep parked nose
She
to
thought,
nose,
surely that's
she's
the-
like, well, he must have gotten a new Jeep. Nope, that's not my Jeep. Mine's 2 levels down.
It's the Ford Focus. And guys, I mean, I don't have that lame of a car. It's not like the newest, hottest, hippest car, but it's like she gets me around. Ella's been good to me. So I'm not.
This girl was ready to run home.
She was ready to walk, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Bitch, you're getting in this car." But also, it's like so weird how it was like completely opposite feeling of like when she was like looking at our art and looking at the
Yeah,
apartment and
yeah.
like, "Wow, this is so cool." And then she
That's
was like, "Whoa."
that's so true. She was so impressed by our place.
And then so unimpressed by
Yeah.
our car.
We had there's a really close girlfriend of ours who she's on actually one of our episodes. that she once told us. She goes, I always expected you guys to drive a really nice car. But she goes, but I love you guys' style and you don't need a car.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we don't. I guess we feel the same way. We don't.
Once you don't have a car note, it's like you don't really want to get another car note. It's just like nice living without a payment.
Right.
And so I feel like that's why we haven't gotten a new car.
For so many years, we don't know what it's like to have to pay a car
We haven't
payment.
had a car payment.
And we have 2 cars.
Yeah. that get us around like beautifully.
Right.
So but we've also always lived in the city.
Yeah.
So the driving,
that's a big difference too.
It is. It's not like we have to pull out of our driveway to get anywhere,
We hardly drive.
Yeah. So it's not really top priority for us.
But that was pretty funny because we thought she wasn't going to get in the car, and Tori said,
like, you can have the front seat.
Yeah. So
she did. She got in the front seat.
She finally relented and got in, and it's that was the other thing. It's such a short drive. It's like 4 to 5 blocks away.
Yeah.
And the only reason we didn't walk was because it's really late now, and it's like, and that's the thing downtown. It gets kind of sketchy, but anyway, we're driving now.
She's in the front seat.
Yeah,
and I'm behind her, and I'm just kind of like, not massaging her shoulders, but kind of like touching her and like trying to be a part of the front seat with them. So I'm like scooted up on my back seat, and I'm playing with her hair, and she's like grabbing my hand and like kind of just like making me touch her neck and stuff. And Rick's just, you're just like crawling.
Yeah, I'm seeing this happening, and I'm just like, I don't want to get to the hotel.
Dude, this looks like a school zone.
So I'm driving less than school zone speed. I'm like crawling at 10 miles an hour like I'm high or something. And because I see that it's starting to get very sensual.
Yeah.
She started sucking on your fingers.
She did.
She started sucking on Tori's fingers, and I was like, oh man, like what's going on here? And all of a sudden she goes, she looked at me and she goes, do you want to feel my tits? And I was like, yeah.
I do.
And then she's wearing a dress. So now she's trying to roll up her dress because she was not going to just let me feel them. She was going to pull them out. Now, guys, this girl has huge tits.
Massive tits.
They
just be
they're
big.
double or triple D size. Just, and they're real.
And they're real.
Yeah. And
they're still like firm and perky and like,
yeah.
yum.
Meanwhile, I've got a tit in my right hand, and I'm driving with my left hand, and I'm only now a block away from the hotel. I'm like, I don't want this to end. So I look to my left. There happens to be a curbside parking space. I go, hey, let me pull over. So I pull over.
And Rick can never find a parking spot.
Never can find parking, which is another reason we don't like to drive.
Yeah.
And so now we're on the curb. She's now finishing pulling up her dress.
Yes.
And she, with these giant tits, has this string, almost bikini style bra.
Imagine a bralette made for my size boobs.
Yeah.
On her triple D's.
Yeah.
So it
was
was
just these little elongated triangles covering her nipples.
Yeah.
And they're just tits spilling out to the left and to the right.
And Rick's like, oh my God. And he's like feeling them. Remind you, we're in my little car with no tint on the windows.
Right. And people are just walking by, and we got to... This girl is giving us her tits.
And she's sucking on my fingers.
Yeah, she's sucking on Tori's fingers. I'm squeezing tits. And she pulled the dress up, so she's really basically nude all the way down. And
I said, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. And so I get back out on the street, driving now 5 miles an hour instead of 10, because now we're only a block away. Like, to be fair, we could have gotten out of the car right there
and just walked back.
But we were going to just drop her off curbside. Again, as luck would have it, right in front of the building, it's this big 51-story building. Mm-hmm. And there's this one little parking space.
Yeah.
It holds 2 cars.
Right.
And one of them was open. And so I pull in there now. Now we're right in front of her building. And she says, do you guys want to come up?
Yeah.
Yes. So I shut the car off. And I was like, wow, man, Rockstar Parking, didn't have to valet it.
It kind of reminds me of those things where it's like, if you love something, set them free. We were like ready to just like take her home and let her go. And then she was like, no, it's funny because she was playing that push and pull and like
playing hard to get.
Kind of playing hard to get. And then now I think she realized like, oh shit, I might have played too hard to get.
Because these guys are going to go.
They were going to just drag me off at home. And she didn't want to go. She was ready to have sex with us because she started ignoring the Uber driver who was reaching out to her.
Right. The Uber driver kept calling her. Poor guy. Yeah, he thought he was going to get laid that night. But wasn't his time. So we get out of the car and we walk to the building, and Tori and I didn't even know there was a hotel in this building.
No.
It's an office building that has residences almost to the top, if not the top. But then it has 2 levels, 2 floors of hotel rooms.
Right.
And she has a code. And
she walks up to the
door.
door.
It's like this long ass.
Beep, beep, beep,
she's going bleep, 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 bleep.
beep,
I'm like, how did you remember that code? She goes, I've already had to open it a bunch of times. I go, okay.
It's a very long code, though.
Yeah, it was a long code. And we got in. I thought, this is going to fail. Yeah, like, there's no way. But no, we got in. And then it's one of those buildings that's tall enough that you have to take one elevator to the 48th floor, get out of that, and get into another elevator to take you the rest of the way up. And we only had to go up to the 51st floor.
Right.
And so our ears popped a couple of times on the way up.
Oh, my ears did. And it's a newer building, so it's like... like it goes so fast and you're like, wow.
It got to the 48th floor faster than our building takes to get to the 6th floor.
So true.
So now we're going down this long hallway and
I mean, it's like a thin, narrow hallway.
I'm thinking, how is she going to even remember what her room is? But she knew all the codes and everything.
And I'm thinking, is this really a hotel? It definitely read more Airbnb. It's not like you walk in and there's
apartments.
You didn't walk in. There's not a hotel concierge there.
Yeah, no, I guess it was all virtual.
It had to be all virtual.
Yeah.
So this was like strange. They probably just like, here's your code. Boop,
yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. And so then we go and there's the door and we go in and it was cool because it was like a little suite style room where it had the kitchenette and the living room and the bedroom and the shower and stuff. But Rick and I immediately walked to the other end of it where it's got floor to ceiling windows and we're on the 51st floor and we're like, oh shit, this is cool.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing our own city from that high up.
Yeah, it was like a new perspective of our city that was just kind of like fun to see. And
looking down on the buildings that we normally look up to.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but and so we're just kind of hanging out, and then she didn't follow us.
No.
So she went to the bathroom.
I was like, what is she doing in there?
Yeah, so
I go over there. She's brushing her teeth.
Yeah, she was brushing her teeth.
She's brushing her teeth. And
at this point,
perfume on.
This is the part of our escapades where I'm not sure how I fit into all of this. And so, again, because I try to stay on Tori's level in terms of how much seduction takes place and whether I'm pushing too hard or not. And so Tori goes back to the bathroom, which is at the entrance.
Right.
So that's very hotel-like.
Yes.
And I just hang back at the little kitchen. I'm seeing what there is to drink there, and little tea bags and stuff, and I'm hanging back and I'm kind of listening for sounds to see if anything's starting. But you guys are just talking.
I remember being like, what the hell? She's like freshening up. She's got perfume. She's doing that. She's like changing her, because again, she's on her period. So she's changing. And so I'm just like chatting with her. This is something that you've learned that has just been like really a positive turn for you. Because I feel like you used to be like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to just kind of like let the girls kind of have a little chit chat for a moment and set the pace on things.
Yes.
And so I kind of, she finished up, she was spraying. And I think when she like sprayed her perfume, I was like, oh, that smells good. And I might have just like gone into her neck and sniffed her neck a little bit and kissed her. And then I just like grabbed her hand and we walked out into the living room. And we were talking about how like intoxicated she was getting at our apartment. And if I'm thinking back on it, and just this is kind of just popping in my head right now, there's something I think, because she seemed totally straightened up when we got back to her hotel room.
Right.
I think that there was something where she was like nervous a little bit at our apartment that was making her a little more like, oh, I'm nervous, and like maybe she was like drinking
it was a
little
nervous
too.
tick more than it was drunkenness, I guess.
Right, or she just like finally just relaxed and been like, okay, I'm okay,
Yeah,
you know.
she felt like she was more in her element.
Yes. Now
Right.
she's in her space, and so because she just seemed to kind of like straighten up a little bit. And so we hand in hand kind of go into the living room, and I remember I just grabbed her face and I was like, so let's make out or something.
Yeah,
you
just started kissing her.
And it was hot and it was sexy, and she nestled her little lips up at me and we started making out.
I sat down on the sofa and I watched them making out.
Right, we were standing up when we started making out.
Yeah.
But then we did this thing where we're like, you just melt to the floor. You brought this up the other day, how you always want to be like, well, let's go to the bed.
Yeah.
But that really does it puts
It's a buzzkill.
it's such a quick like, oh, don't drop to the floor, just like walk over to the bed.
Yeah.
But that little change in
I
motion.
I said to Tori, I was like, what is it with you and the floor? Like her and these girls always collapse to the floor and they just start doing stuff on the floor. I guess, okay, so that's something that for our next place, we're going to have great carpeting with these huge pillows all over the place so that you can just fall to the floor and it just stays organic.
Yes.
That's what we need.
That's
what I'm going to draw it up tomorrow.
Okay.
That's got to be our next place.
Because I like falling to the ground.
Yeah, Tori
with
just
a lady.
she just loves falling to the ground with a lady. Exactly.
I don't know how it happens. Like, I couldn't tell you in my head right now what happened that we, like, did I drop down and then pull her down? Did she, like, start to bend her knees and I just, like, I don't know. We just, next thing you know, we're on the ground.
But it was very sensual. You guys were really digging each other.
Yeah.
And she was so turned on by everything you were doing to her.
We were locked in.
Yeah.
I was, like, making out with her, but then I would, like, go down and I would suck her big tits, and I was, like, sucking on them. And I'm still fully clothed, but she had that dress on, and so I lifted that up. And so I'm kind of, like, dry humping her and sucking on her tits, and I remember, like, reaching down and, like, lifting up a leg. I'm just in a rhythm. Like, I'm just feeling her, and I'm rocking with her, and I'm making love.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. And I'm watching it, and I was telling Tori I was confused because I've seen her do this before, but she was clearly getting turned on by this. And there's this whole thing that I've been learning about how it isn't always penetration that gets girls off because the clit is on the outside and you need clitoral stimulation, but not everybody. But it's a very low percentage of women who actually orgasm from just penetration.
Just penetration.
There has to be other things. And I'm watching this firsthand, how there's no penetration. And you were just hitting the spot just right because she was definitely going into orgasm and did. Mm-hmm. And she was arching her back, and you just kept you kept your rhythm the same, and she just kept getting more and more and more into ecstasy.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I couldn't deal. Like my pants were down to my knees, and I just was stroking my dick the whole time. It's just like, I hope I get to get in on some of this.
My thing is like, there's so many things I want to say right now. And I guess I'm just going to stick with when people ask about like, oh, are you good at sex? Or they brag about being good at sex. In that moment, I wasn't trying to put any moves on her.
Right.
I was just rocking back and forth and sucking a tit like I wanted to. And then I made eye contact with her. And then the eye contact just got stronger. And then that made me aroused. And then it made her aroused. And then there was just this natural buildup. But I wasn't like, oh, yeah, and then that thing I saw on porn. And then I did this. And then, okay, we'll make sure to touch her there. And
I was sitting there going, she's doing that thing I saw on porn. I didn't really.
And so I always just think about how there's just some times where you just click with somebody.
You
like
guys
that.
were,
we were in emotion.
it was a dance, and you guys were like like perfectly dancing.
And I was just dry humping her.
Yeah.
I was just dry humping her.
Yeah.
But she was like aroused by it. And so when she like kind of screamed in ecstasy, like, because she screamed as if she did orgasm from it. And she was like, ah, and I was like, oh my God. So then I stand up so fast and I'm trying to get my jeans off, but I'm like kind of jumping up and down. And now I get awkward. I go back down to like keep doing it, but then I couldn't click
lost
back
the moment.
I couldn't click back into that rhythm, but I think I got her almost there.
Oh yeah, it was good.
But then when I realized, okay, I'm not doing it the same way, I look back at Rick and he's got his dick out and he's rubbing it, and I was like, hey, let's go, suck his cock.
And I was like, oh, here we go. Yes. And then, Tori just kind of shimmies her knees over to me, and because I'm still sitting on the sofa, and she just starts going down on me and sucking my dick. And Sarah just comes up and she's just like, I look at her face and she looks like she's like salivating at the fact, and because she got up close to watch you doing it.
Yeah.
And then you said, I think you said then, okay, now let's see you do it.
Yeah.
And so she gets in between my legs, facing me, and then just wraps her tits around my dick. And my dick just disappeared. Like it was gone. Like, and she was instead of just going up and down with her tits, she was shimmying them left, right, and really fast and hard. I was like, oh my God, like what? I have never had this done to me before. I've titty fucked plenty of times, but not. Yeah, it was in reverse, like,
she was doing the fucking.
And I was getting a titty job. Yeah. And
Lord have mercy.
I joked with Tori. I go, here's the thing. I don't think I could have ever gotten off from that. And she didn't do it for, a huge amount of time, but she did it for a decent amount of time. But I don't think I could have ever come from that. But it was so fun to watch. It reminded me of one of those oddly satisfying videos that you see on Instagram, TikTok.
Where you just can't stop watching.
I'm just looking at it going like, holy shit, what is going on right now? And it did feel good. It just didn't have that same kind of tension that a hand job, a head job, or fucking pussy or ass has.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's kind of a novelty thing.
Yeah,
right?
It kind of is. Yeah. And but she did that for a little while, and it was amazing. And then she sucked my dick a little bit, and then you did it again.
Yeah.
And I was in heaven.
It was some good foreplay.
Yes, that was amazing. And
I remember we all like stood up and we were kind of like making out, and I was kind of reaching down and stroking your dick, and she's like, "Do y'all want to take a shower?" And we were like, sure.
Let's go take a shower.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to feel freedom. and so we go over back.
Me neither.
Back over to back to the bathroom, and she turns on the shower, and we're all just stripped down, butt naked, and get in the shower.
Slithering around the shower. Now, the cool thing is that she may have brought this up because this place only had a stand-up shower, but it was a big one.
Yeah.
Like there was enough room for 4 people in there.
Yeah. And it had a bench.
And it had like a built-in bench at one end of it. So it was nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was great. And so we're all just kind of rubbing on each other. She pulls out a bottle of shampoo.
She squirts something.
Yeah, she's like, hold out your hand. And she
squirts it in all of
and
our
she goes,
hands.
now rub it on yourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. I thought she was some kind of thing. And no, she just wanted us to
lather
up. Like, shampoo? Like what?
I think she was probably saying like, clean yourselves.
Yeah, you guys stink.
You nasty asses in that fucking car.
So there we are. We're all rubbing ourselves and lathering ourselves up. And
so I remember being like, but I want to like touch you and suck on you and do mouth stuff, and I went right for her tit. I was like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was all soapy.
It was all soapy in my mouth, and I was like, and so then I like push her to under the shower head, and she's
those glorious
and
tits.
I was like kind of rubbing on her tits, and it's wet and lathery, and she's putting her hair in the shower in the water, and she's making herself look more sexy, and it was working. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness gracious. And then we did like a circuit, because I remember she went back to the back end of the shower where the bench was, and then I rinsed off, and then you rinsed
Yeah.
off, and then she's sitting on the bench, and we're standing in front of her, and she like grabs your ass and grabs my ass. We're facing each other. It just like pushes us together like, okay, you two fuck.
Yeah, she wanted to see us fuck. And it's funny because our dick and pussy, with her sitting down, it was perfect line of sight.
Yeah.
And when I penetrated you and started fucking you, I just, like her eyes, she was just marveling.
Right in front of her face.
Yeah, right in front of her face, watching the penetration.
I picked my leg up and put it on the edge of the bench.
Right.
So I'm like, my leg's kind of like over her.
Yeah, it's over her lap.
Yes.
And then on the bench.
Yes.
And Tori and I are just fucking for a good portion of time, and she's just watching it and watching it and watching it. And then finally we break loose, and I'm just standing there, and my dick is right at her face.
Yeah.
And then that's when she started sucking on my dick.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting to really feel like how she sucks dick, and it was very different than you. Tori is good at like deep throating.
Yeah.
And she didn't do that. She basically concentrated on the tip and was just sucking it hard, and it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good in its own right. But somewhere in there,
she comes up and she wants to eat me out.
right.
And because I back
so
up.
by that time you're backed up to the shower.
Yeah.
And she gets up and walks past me to get to you.
And now she wants to give me
Yeah,
head.
now she's giving you head, but she's doing it standing up.
Yeah.
And
Like
but
she's
bent over. She's bent over.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking up to take a look, but all of a sudden her ass bumps up against my dick. And
On accident.
Yeah.
His dick bumps her butt.
Yeah, like oops, did I just do that? But she felt it and immediately backed up really hard on it and just started kind of sliding up and down on it. And then I penetrated her and just started fucking her. So I'm fucking her while she's eating your pussy bent over. And these are pretty slippery. So I'm trying to get my footing. And here's what happens. So I haven't described this girl completely. She is, this matters in the shower here in a second, because this girl was about 5, 6, or 7.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
About 5'6" or 7, a little on the tall side. Because she was the height that she was, and she's bent over like that, Tori's tall.
Right.
And if Tori and I do
Stand-up sex.
do stand-up sex, it sounds like that's what you do go like, watch Tori and Rick do stand-up sex. They're really funny. No, but when we do, I almost have to tippy-toe because the way our anatomy is built,
Right.
my dick
My hips are higher.
Yeah, your hips are higher and my dick is lower. So I almost need to be like 2 to 3 inches taller than you that for it to be like they meet right at the right place. Well, her height was just right that when she was a Goldilocks
Fit.
Goldilocks fit, because when she bent over, I was just a little high, so all I had to do was spread my legs, which gives me
Shoulder
leverage.
width apart.
Yeah, shoulder
Yeah.
width apart, and I just fit in there so perfectly. And so when I'm thrusting into her, I'm getting to just really go in there and get the right rhythm going, and then she's pushing back with her that just juicy ass and just pushing back, and there's water flowing down the little valley of her back and then lubricating us the whole time. And she starts moaning, and then it gets louder and louder, and she's almost to screaming level now. And what do you do, love, when she gets to screaming level?
Guys, I'm the safety person in this situation, right? And so they're slipping and sliding and fucking, and I'm just watching and making sure nobody falls or hurts their head or anything. But then she started screaming, and I don't know why I did this, but I was just like, shh. I just like
She shushed her.
as she's like orgasming.
Yeah. And then she and I both got quiet. Like, what? Did somebody just walk in or something? Nope, we were just too loud. But the good news is that once we realized, oh, she's just being
Loser.
she's just a little overprotective of the neighbors, I guess.
Neighbors.
Yeah.
And we're in a hotel. That's exactly
Right.
when you scream.
So we got back into our rhythm.
Kept fucking.
Yeah, kept fucking, and
I remember then you backed up off of her.
Yeah.
And I went straight down to start sucking your dick because I had been standing there a while, just kind of like making sure you guys were okay. I really was kind of just like making sure nobody slipped. And you backed up and I just went down and I started sucking your dick right away. And it was funny because I remember going, oh shit, like it was coppery because she was on her period. And then
that metallic taste.
You're penetrating her deeply.
Yeah.
So you're getting all that good stuff swirled around. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't mind it.
No, so some people think that's just incredibly gross and out of bounds. And
It didn't. I'm like, it tastes like blood. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like,
oh, I don't think it's a bad thing, but just now the way you said it, I was like, oh. and to be fair too, it's not like, this is going to sound really gross now. It wasn't like there's these big globs of blood on me. No. There's like shower water rinsing me off the whole time. And she seemed like maybe she was on the tail end of this.
I was about to say that. There was never any like blood anywhere. It was just, there was like hints of the taste of it.
Yeah.
But
add insult to injury. She saw you doing that.
She sees me sucking your dick and she comes up and just like without me realizing she was coming up behind me and just grabs the back of my head and starts like shoving my head on his cock. And I was like, oh. Like that was intense. Those were good sound effects.
Yeah, that was.
And I, like Rick said earlier, like I like to deep throat, but I had not been in that situation where I wasn't controlling the deep throating. Like even when I deep throat Rick, he's not like jamming my head down. He just lets me do it. And he's like, oh my God, baby. But now she's jamming his in. And so I'm like, when you deep throat, you have to like drop your tongue and open your throat and remind yourself not to gag. And I was just like, no time for that. Like, go, bitch, go. And I wanted to do a good job, so I looked cool. I don't know why I wanted to do a good job. But so she did that a few times and I was doing that. But then she just thankfully stopped after a few pumps. And then I was just like, holy shit. And then I backed off. And then we're all rinsing up. We get out and...
Yeah. You guys both had walked out of the shower and I kind of stayed there and was washing myself off. And you guys worked your way back to the living room. Yeah. And then when I came in, they're both kind of still just very touchy-feely with each other with towels around them. And I sat back down on the sofa. I'm watching this and she basically dropped to her knees.
And started eating
started eating your pussy.
I took my towel off and I wrapped my hair up in it because at the point I was like, okay, my body's drying off, but I have that like wet hair feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I wrapped my hair up. So I'm just standing there nude with my hair wrapped up. And so then she just dropped to her knees and she started licking my clit. And, I think about this. A lot of the girls we're with, I don't know that we've ever been with a full-on lesbian because they've always been with you, right?
Right, yeah.
So they're bisexual at the most. But a lot of the times they're mostly just bi-curious. And they're with me because they have that safety net of the dick. They know they like the dick. So me getting my pussy ate is less common than...
Yeah, it doesn't seem to happen much with you. You don't get your pussy eaten
that much. It's usually me getting to eat pussy, which is why I'm in the game. Like, I like this,
And we have a few friends that eat Tori's pussy really good.
Right.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the girls won't do it. And not because they're like, no, I'm not doing that. It's not like their first instinct to go down there. So I don't know that she ever ate a pussy before in her life, but all she did was really just like stick her tongue like in and out of my pussy a few times, like on the outside and licking the clit in the area. And then plus I'm standing up, which I think is really sexy anyways, when somebody's like on their knees eating you out. And I just remember just it feeling so incredibly good. And so like it turned me on so much that I was just like, I dropped to my knees, pushed her back, laid her on her back. That's how we end up on the ground.
Yeah.
And pushed
Now they're
her-
back on the ground again. I'm like, oh my God, with the ground
She
thing.
lays on her back and I just start eating her out. And her and I really clicked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I was just eating her out, and then you get off the couch.
Right. She looked over at me and I looked at her, and then she took her tits and just squeezed them together almost as if she wanted me to look at them, you know? So then I slid off the sofa, got on my knees and went over and I made out with her for a little bit, and then I started sucking on her tits.
Oh, nice.
And you're still eating her pussy, and then she kind of started arching her back up like she was getting really stimulated by what you were doing. So I grabbed her, like I put my left arm underneath her neck and my right arm underneath her upper back and kind of pushed her up. It was like she wanted to crunch up and get tense because it was so intense. So I did that, and she was really like enjoying that. And then I started kissing down her stomach and then met up with you.
I remember your face just like
Yeah.
showed up with me, and
I'm
I was like, oh,
hello.
hi.
Yeah, says Tori. If I remember right, you said, you want to eat some pussy?
Yeah.
And I just started eating her from the top. Yeah.
Yeah, you never like came
Yeah.
around and like got in
No.
my position. You just started like,
And I
licking.
did that for a while, but she didn't seem to be responding to me like she was to you. So I did that for a little while and then stopped and started kissing back up again. And then you went back to eating her. And then I just backed up and just watched.
Yeah.
And she was just in heaven.
I remember channeling our friend that we talked about in one of the episodes when when our friend ate my pussy, and I had never gotten my pussy ate like this, was where she went really slow. And she never let up.
And a light touch, I think you told me.
Very light touch.
Yeah.
And really slow. And but she went for a while, but she didn't like change motion. And she kept kind of hitting the right spot gently. And so I kind of was like doing that to Sarah at this moment. And I was getting like good response from her. And so I remember telling myself, don't get excited here and start going harder. You have to keep this pace because it's feeling good to her. It's feeling good to her. And I was like recalling what it felt like to me. So I was like, just keep going at this. Keep going at this. You'll get there. Like, you know, and I did.
Yeah, that
it was just
it's
slow
funny,
and steady, baby.
It's funny because that always sounds like a unique thing to guys, is when a girl says, yes, right there. And it makes a guy want to go harder.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, right there. Like, you know, don't change. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's good.
I do that.
Yeah.
I change.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you like it?
Yeah. Let me do it harder. And then the feeling goes away. Then, you got her off basically. And then we kind of all just sort of took a collective breath.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, it's getting late. And she wanted us to spend the night with her.
She did.
Yeah. And she was really sad about that.
She really wanted us
almost
to
to the
stay.
point of anger.
Yeah. She's like, fine.
Yeah.
Leave
fine.
me.
And
We're like,
so we're like, well, we'll get together again. You're still here. And she goes, yeah, okay. And she kind of came to terms with that. We left.
Yeah. We headed out.
Yeah, we kind of all hugged, and she, showed me her tits one more time, and then went down, walked over to the car.
We get in the car.
You opened the door, and there on the seat, where remember she sat in the front with me, was her phone.
Her fucking cell phone.
And we're like, fuck.
Damn it.
And we're like, okay, we don't know how to get into this building now.
Right.
And we can't call her because we got her phone.
We just go up to the door and start knocking on it.
Yeah, we start peeking in, and then the security guard's looking at us, and we're like waving the phone like.
Yeah. Let us in. We just walked by you.
So she came and opened the door, and we're like, hey, we were just in here. We have our girlfriend's phone. Can we take it up to her? She goes, do you have the code to get up there? It's like, no. And she goes, well, I'll have to go up with you.
I'll have to walk you guys up.
Yeah. And we're like, will you? And she goes, yeah. So she did. She rode
She
with.
calls over the thing, taking two
Yeah.
guests up to the 40 blah 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 floor.
Yeah.
And so she gets us up to the 48th floor
Yeah.
and then says, okay, now you can hop on that elevator and it'll just take you
Right.
up. I don't know how in my right mind I remembered the apartment number. I was just like, nope, it's this way, that way. Oh, we hit this spot. It's
Yeah,
this
because
door.
it's this long hallway with all same looking doors.
Yes, exactly the same.
Yeah, it was like,
It'd be a
okay.
trip if you were on acid.
Right.
You'd be like, woo.
Yeah, it'd start switching places on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we
get to the door and we knock on it. And she opens the door. I'm sure she looked through the peephole first, but she opens the door and she's already in like matching pajamas, like these little striped shorts with this striped top that's like a button down and it's unbuttoned all the way. So her tits are just hanging there, but it's like open just perfectly. And I was like, oh my God.
here we go again.
Jesus Lord, what are you doing to us? And I was like, she
So
was
she invites us
fucking-
in.
She was fucking sexy, man. And we go in there and I was like, here's your phone. And she's like, thanks. And I was like, let me see those titties.
You know,
And I
it's
just-
weird because she almost didn't seem concerned about her phone.
At
It was
all.
almost like she did it on purpose. But she couldn't have possibly known. Yeah, no. But it kind of, she's like,
She
oh,
was
I
just
knew
like,
you.
whatever.
I knew you guys were coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Tori's fondling her tits as she.
And then I just kind of like, I remember kind of like slapping her on the face a little bit. And I was like, I gotta go. You need to let me go and stop doing this to me. And she's like, whatever. And we kind of like were doing this little like cute little banter, sexy. And then we left.
We left and we get downstairs and the security guard's sitting there and we're like, hey, thanks a lot for doing that for us. And she goes, sure. And she goes, hey, I like you guys' glasses.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I like your glasses because she did have cool glasses on too. And she goes, where did you get those? And so we told her where we got them. And I go, I have a pair just like yours. And so I'm scrolling through my phone and I have a picture of my glasses that are like hers. And I've worn them on this podcast before.
Yeah.
They're Oliver Peoples and they're clear frames, but I have purple lenses on them. And she had some like that. She goes, oh yeah. And so we were kind of like, we were kind of flirting, having this little banter with her now.
She was a cute girl.
Yeah, she was cute. And so we're like, well, we'll see you later. We live down the street.
Yeah, maybe we'll swing back by.
Yeah. And then we
Have
just
a good night.
Yeah.
Thanks again for taking us all the way up there.
Right. And we're like, damn, we just sprung into action again.
Mm-hmm.
And so but then we walked out of the building and exterior downtown 4 a.m. night. Rick and Tori walk out of the building toward the car. The street is completely void of any activity. They walk with confidence to the car and get in. We see the exterior of the car. The camera shows both Tori and Rick sitting inside the car with satisfied smiles on their faces. Inside of the car, the camera closes in on Rick. He skips a couple of beats, looks over to Tori. Rick, how about that fucking cute security guard?
She was so cute.
Exterior car downtown, 4 a.m. You can see Tori and Rick laughing as they drive away. Fade to black.
So we drive off into the night like a couple of crazy young lovers.
And it was loads of fun. It's the surprise endings. Like we really thought that was done, and Tori and I have had to coach ourselves, mostly me,
Yeah.
about when things go amiss, I guess, or it doesn't happen, and you have to just really just enjoy the person you're hanging out with, even if it doesn't go that direction.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time with that. But the funny thing is I had reconciled with that, and we were going to take her home or to the hotel and let her go, and I really was okay with that.
Yeah.
And then on that car ride, it just all of a sudden everything just flipped,
Switched.
and I was like, okay.
I'm okay with this too.
Yeah, I'm okay. Definitely okay with this. Yeah.
And that was a pleasant surprise. I know for the both of us. And we hope it was a pleasant surprise for you guys too.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. We have another story coming up really soon.
Yes.
That was just as fun
just as exciting.
We're out there in the wild trying to make these things happen. And we're talking about it. So we really appreciate you listening. We have, so here's an interesting story. The Summer Olympics were in Paris, France recently. And France has been a stubborn country.
That has been eluding us.
Yeah, we always, here in the United States, we think of France as being very conceited regarding the United States.
Sure.
And it made sense that France never showed up in the list of our countries. We now have listeners in 63 countries around the world, and France was not one of them. But then the Olympics were coming up, and I told Tori, I was like, I will bet you that there is an Olympian somewhere in the world that listens to our show and is going to have a little bit of downtime, and they're going to tune in, and
they're warming up to our podcast.
And sure enough, France pops up right during the Olympics.
Welcome, France.
Yeah, and thanks to I think I can thank some Olympian out there in the world for that. But if it was a French person, then thank you too.
Yeah.
And we're glad you're on board.
Very excited about France. Very excited about Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Zimbabwe. Mozambique. We have a listener. It's all over. I was looking. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I didn't know how many continents there are in the world. And I saw somebody's podcast brag about how they had listeners in 3 continents. Well, we have listeners in 6 continents.
Out of 7?
Out of 7.
Nice.
Yes, we have listeners in 6 continents. The only continent that we don't have listeners in is Antarctica. And
does any people live on Antarctica?
They live there for periods of time for research, but there aren't real dwellers there. So that's pretty good. And
come on, penguins!
Yeah.
Listen to our show!
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting.
Maybe we need to talk about fucking like penguins.
Right.
Then they'll listen.
But
anyways, guys.
Thanks to all of you all around the world for listening to our show. We love making the show. And we will continue. Yeah, we love that too. And we'll continue doing so as long as we possibly can. And, I would say until we ran out of money, but we've already run out of money. So.
And we're still going. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Love.
We'll see you next time.
Much love. Bye.